since you've been mine.
And now, 1160 AM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Welcome. We are so excited for you to join us today to help you get better, help us get better, help the world get better. Today we want to talk about during a pandemic, mental hygiene is just as important as washing your hands. Now, during a pandemic, you have to understand the spread of the coronavirus has led to the spread of unhealthy thinking patterns out there. We hear them all the time in our practice.
Right.
And we believe that there's an assault on brain function and psychological health. Dr. Daniel Amen is one of our favorite psychiatrists, specialist neuropsychiatrist. He actually does brain imaging, and he has over 100 books. He says whenever you find yourself feeling mad, sad, nervous, or out of control, write down what you were thinking. And in our last show last week, and if you want to see it, you can go to YouTube, to Ann Beal, or you can go to Getting Better with Ann Beal. We talked about journaling to write down thoughts to get rid of your anxiety, depression, stress, fear. And he as well says, write down what you were thinking. Challenge your negative thoughts. Challenging your negative thoughts takes away their power and gives you control over your thoughts, moods, and behaviors. So we want to teach you today how to disinfect your thoughts, not just disinfect your hands, what you're learning. We want to teach you to kill those, what Dr. Amen calls ants, automatic negative thoughts, that steal your happiness. It's so important for your overall well-being at this time. To help me teach you to do this, I have Dr. Jim Slaughter, stress and anger specialist, joining us again today. Thank you, Jim.
Oh, hey, everybody. Good to be with you, Ann. What a neat time we're going to have today, talking about these ants and how to get rid of them, and just helping people do better through this pandemic time.
We want to teach them how to have an ant eater, right?
Right.
It's been shown through scientific studies that it's just as effective as antidepressant medication.
Well, it really is. And, you know, the truth of the matter is we would love to be moving in more of a natural kind of health pattern. And so if there's anything that would help our clients, people who come to us for help, if anything that would help them that would be not a prescription item, you know,
Yes.
something that they could do on their own, even if they are trained to do that, then that would be wonderful. That's what we shoot for.
Well, and Scripture tells us that laughter is medicine. And in Philippians 4:8, it also says to think on things, whatever is pure, noble, right, lovely, admirable. Did I leave anything out? Trying to think of all the things.
Yeah.
If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these.
Right, we're to think on those things. And one of the reasons is that what we think about influences the chemistry in our whole body. Our thoughts influence and produce the kind of chemistry that's going on. And if the anxiety chemicals in our bodies are ramping up, it's because of what we're thinking.
Well, and the most successful people in the world know what you think about comes about.
That's true.
And another way to say it is, as a man thinketh, so he is.
Yeah, I was thinking that this morning. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
So is
and it just tells us about the total aspect of ourselves that is taken over by the thoughts that we have. We can think positively, positive things happen, we feel better. We think negatively, bad things happen, and we feel worse.
So we have actually studied prisoners of war and the people who have escaped and made it through it and come out of it. And the difference between the people who don't make it and the people who make it is most of the time it's your mindset, how you think. Some people say they're stronger, and really some people say mentally stronger. But we want to teach you how to be mentally stronger in the middle of anything. So especially in the middle of this pandemic, we want you to have peace, not panic.
Yeah, and if I could add just something to that, I think that's so important. Peace, not panic, is really a crucial thing to think about. I wanted to say, too, though, that, you know, people listening out there, I mean, and even we hear things that sound good, but if we don't practice them, if we don't put them into practice, then it doesn't really do any good. And so I'd like to encourage our listeners out there, everybody, to just begin picking some things out that are particularly meaningful to you, and write them down, think them through, begin practicing them. And we're going to give you a lot of different kinds of things like that that will help you practice mental hygiene through this pretty horrible time.
Well, and when you think about just staying peaceful and calm, and we talked about that in the last show, how to do that through writing, okay? One of the things that they say that these people that were POWs, the prisoners of war, but also people who were in the concentration camps,
right?
That one of the most important things they did was they set a schedule. They had a routine basically every day. And if they were isolated, a calendar was important so they could kind of keep up on the days, right? And that was interesting thing that we found about all of them. If they weren't isolated, just getting up. Now, one of the things that we talk about is in your routine every day. You know, Dr. Amen does at the beginning of every day, he gets up and says, today is going to be a great day.
Yes.
I think he says that right when he opens his eyes. He says the first thing he says to himself is, today is going to be a great day. Yes. And even with his kids at breakfast, he's like, now, why is this going to be a great day? And they all go through why it's going to be a great day. And so that's a routine. He does that first thing in the morning. And then in the evening, he goes through, and we're going to talk about that, he goes through appreciations, what we call wins. He calls them appreciations. He does 3 appreciations in the day or more. And then he also looks at, he prays. So he looks at the day and makes an assessment and says what he appreciates about the day and in the day, like being here with you today. I appreciate that. So I might say that. And so he analyzes and appreciates what's in the day, and then he prays for the next day. That's before bed. So, you know, having a set routine is very important. And these people that were able to get out, and so they just had more of a positive mindset or a healthier mindset, that meaning they knew how to train their brain to be able to cope with the stress, and they knew how to have hope.
Yes.
Versus giving up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it consists of taking a stone and marking on a cell wall for some of those POWs, you know, keeping track of the day. You might think that would be a negative thing. It was not. It gave them hope to see, you know, how many days they had been there, and and how many days it might be until they got out. I've known of POWs who actually created lectures in their head while they were in there. And not so much that they would deliver them later, but because it was a mental exercise that kept them sane. Other people exercised every day. They would go through a calisthenic kind of program every
some
single
kind of
day.
exercise.
Right. And so it's that kind of thing that exhibits a kind of mental toughness that gets people through.
And why are we talking about that? Because this is a kind of war. We are at war with the virus.
Right.
And with just the world. And so knowing how to be able to come out of that well. And one of the things that we want you to do at the end of this, when you look back, whenever that is, okay, when this is over and we look back, I want you to be proud of yourself. So I want you to have grown through it. You know, people and everyone's talking a lot about all the mental problems and things that people are going to have, and suicide, all this kind of stuff. But I want you to be able to grow and be strong instead of having like post-traumatic stress.
Right.
I mean, some of us will remember it. And so, but I don't want you to have a disorder. I want you to have learned and grown and learned new things.
So would you say it's not so much a survivor mentality that we're working on, but a victor mentality, right?
A victory mentality.
Yeah.
And it's really like, so when your environment changes or things change, being able to change with it, right? Being able to be, what do they call that? Being resilient.
Yes.
And being able to you know, cope through it by being able to change with it. So one of the things that somebody said today was, hey, do you want to learn how to cook? Well, Gordon Ramsay has classes on YouTube how to cook.
Sure.
And so if you want to learn a new language, or you've been talking about wanting to learn to play the guitar.
I have.
And so learning some new skills through this is really fun. We have some people that are learning gardening and making their backyard beautiful. And so taking this time, one of the main things we would really like you to do as well is see things differently as far as your loved ones. I think when you believe you're going to live forever, you don't pay attention to your loved ones. you take them for granted. That might be a better word.
Yeah.
And so you think someday, or I'll call them whenever, or I'll go see them in the summer or whatever. But in this situation, I'd like you to see that your loved ones are super important, and don't put off what you need to do today. So contact them every day. Talk with them often.
And this is something you may want to talk about as we go along, but the term social distancing really has a degree of ill health built into it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to socially connect, not socially distance ourselves from other people. That does not necessarily mean congregate, okay? What it really means is be in touch, be connected to other people, especially our families. And we can do that by phone, by social media, by different kinds of ways like that. But social connection is important. Social distancing kind of leads us in the wrong direction, I think, when we think about that.
Well, and, Dr. Amen, he says that if he was in charge of trying to take over a country and make everyone really subservient and sick, he would make them afraid and shut them in their homes. Mm-hmm. And so social distancing is not what we want to do. It's just the word that they're using. I mean, to talk about a physical distance between each other, which is a physical distance.
Right.
It's not a social distance, though I hate the word. I've always hated the word because we want people to be social.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And people who grew up on farms, you're out in the middle of the country and you don't really have a lot of people around. And so how do you function? Well, you call people, you write them letters, okay? You go to events to meet people. You might go into town to shop, and you try to be social. And so social is important. We are human creatures. We need socialization. So even if you are alone, you have to reach out. You have to reach out somehow. And if you have loved ones, they've talked about the worst thing about not visiting elderly people in nursing homes is they are going to die a lot sooner because you take away all their joy and all their hope. And they truly are devastated by not having you around. If you had told your loved one, your mom, your grandma, or whoever, I'm not actually going to see you for 9 months, but I'll be back. I'm going to send someone else in my place or whatever. Yeah. They would just start crying. And my brother, who wasn't well, when I visited him, when I was going to leave, he just started bawling. And I was like, but I'll be back. But he knew it was not going to be for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so, that's lonely.
Let me say this too. I was kind of surprised. Dr. Amen is, I guess, probably our mental health guru or mentor. Yeah. And but he said something kind of surprising to me. He talked about people dying of a broken heart. And see, that's kind of that's interesting for a psychiatrist to say that. We usually think in terms of, here's a guy who's so analytical and he's so brain-oriented, which he is and all that. But for him to bring in the element of a broken heart that would cause somebody to die, that makes me sit up and take notice, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
people,
broken heart.
In a sense, get a broken heart. They can die from that.
Yeah, and that's why I email my dad every day. He emails me back. I mean, honestly, it's more than once a day. We're constantly talking throughout the day. It is not really anything that important. It's just, hey, I had some ice cream. How are you doing? What's going on? And so it's back and forth every day, and he doesn't do Facebook or anything like that. But so however I can reach out, if people will let me do that, I want to do that and share with them. I think that it's very important to understand that we want you to be able to grow in the midst of all this. So when we talk about a broken heart, we also, I want you to understand that the best way to fight this virus is through really increasing your health, your mental health, your physical health. And definitely, Dr. Amen talks about vitamin D, as we have talked about.
Sure.
He talks about, what else? I'm trying to remember. Vitamin D.
EFAs, essential fatty acids, fish oil.
Fatty acids.
Right.
That you need those to keep brain health.
Right,
which
absolutely.
will help protect you. So 3,000 grams every day. So you have your 1,000 3 times a day, milligrams every day. And so those are some things we just wanted to throw out to really build your immune system in this time as well.
And he made a statement. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
I was just going to say, he made a statement that's something I believe for a long time, and that is that our greatest defense against COVID is our own immune system. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing. So not only do we want you to learn during this time and grow and be able to thrive, we also want you to build your immunity as well, so you'll be more resilient next time. Stay right here for more. Okay.
Do you want to get into those ants, or where do you want to go next?
Well, wherever you want to go is fine with me.
Well, you mentioned the ants, and I want they may be wondering what that means or something. I mean, you mentioned what it was.
Oh, automatic. I don't know that I did that. Did I mention
You
it?
did mention automatic negative thoughts, but maybe it's a good time to give
bring
some
it back up
examples during the pandemic.
Yes. Okay. So we'll do that. So we'll go there, and
And
I
then
will leave that to you. We'll
at the
just
end-
go through.
And at the end, maybe some of the things we wrote down about just ways of staying well.
Okay.
At the end
So
or
I'm gonna
something.
I'll let you lead that.
Okay.
Each ant, and then we'll talk. However you want to do that. Right? Is that what you'd like to do?
Well, we can. I don't know that I totally thought that through, but I thought giving some examples that he gave of what those pandemic ants are would be
That's
helpful,
what I was thinking too. Like,
I'm going to
'cause
die.
those are- yes.
My loved ones are going to all die.
Yes.
And the truth is that that's not true. I mean, we have
Yeah,
to say, is
like-
that absolutely true? Well, no.
I think that's probably the main one, right? That's the
Well,
one
there is this-
most people are afraid of.
Probably the
Yeah.
number one and two, but also I'm going to be ruined. I'm going to lose all my money, that kind of thing. And of course, for some people that has happened, but we don't absolutely know that's true for us. And so, if we don't know it's absolutely true, if it hasn't happened yet, why worry about it? We need to gear up in our heads. A couple that aren't that great, but we're going to run out of food, so I have to hoard whatever I can find.
Is it true? Very unlikely.
But is it absolutely true?
Well,
No,
and I understand what you're saying, but it's very unlikely we'll run out of food.
it's unlikely.
But the fear is there.
The fear is there, right? And so that's why he calls it an automatic negative. I can't get any healthy food. Well, if you can get unhealthy food, you can get healthy food. That's the thing. I can't work out because there's not all the gyms are closed.
How about if we talk about what do you think about mentioning the fatality rate right now for different age groups?
Well, I'm not sure
Like
what it is.
85%
Do you know what that
and
is?
above is, yeah.
Oh, he
That's
lists
what I
it here.
brought. 10% to 27%, 65 to 84. So, I mean, that's the reality. 19 or younger, I think there were none. I think there's only, I don't know if there's any yet. I don't think there's any deaths. None.
Well, he says,
I looked, I found none, and he says there's none. But
20 to 54 years old, it's less than 1%.
yeah.
He has here. So I think that might be good. That's much less. I mean, some people think, everybody's dying, but that's not true at all, Hardly anybody on a comparative basis has.
Right. Yeah.
When you consider the whole national population,
Well, and I people that are worried about school so much, it's not the kids, it's the teachers, it's the adults. It really doesn't pass kid to kid. It passes adult to adult, and usually adults that are sick, that aren't protected. So.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We are talking about automatic negative thoughts. To get rid of those, we want you to have an anteater so that
Yes.
you can get rid of those and stay well and have peace in this pandemic.
Yep.
Even if it's moved to an epidemic by now, we still like the peace in this pandemic versus panic in this pandemic.
I always like the idea of peace. That's what I shoot for, right?
I know. So we're going to work through 10 of the most common anxious thoughts that people are having right now.
Right. These are pandemic ants.
Yeah,
right?
pandemic ants.
People are subject to ants all the time, but they may not be these specific ones. These are the ones that seem to come out during the pandemic. Okay. Ant number one: I am going to die. So
Right.
what do you think about that?
I think
Ant?
that's what most people are worried about, right? That's the main one. And some people are terrified of that. Of course, none of us want to die, but that's I feel like the number one automatic negative thought right now.
Right. Now, the thing that we want to do with those ants, those negative thoughts, is to ask some quick questions, okay? And we can go into some figures here in a second about the death rate and all that. But, what we need to ask, first of all, is what I'm afraid of absolute? Do I know that absolutely? Is that absolutely true? Do I absolutely know I'm going to die? Of course not. I don't. And so that makes it an ant. It's an automatic negative thought. We don't know that it's going to happen.
And I think it's very unlikely we ever know it's going to happen.
Yeah, we don't.
Right.
And so, the truth of the matter is a lot of people are afraid of something that hasn't even happened yet.
Well, and I think if you look at this, that most people recover from the coronavirus. And so let's look at the fatality rate by age group. Right now, the fatality rate by age group, 85 and older, is 10 to 27%. Okay, that's a lot of people in that category, people who actually get corona.
Right.
65 to 84 years old, the people that actually get it, 3 to 11% actually die. 55 to 64, people who actually get it, 1 to 3%. And age 20 to 54 years old, less than 1% actually die if they got it.
Right.
Okay, now and then in 19 or younger, so far they've had no deaths, not one. None.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And Dr. Amen also said he didn't find any, I didn't find any, we can't find any. That's not that they don't get it. I mean, their numbers are low even getting the coronavirus. But
and we know that's a
recovering.
very infectious disease. That's
Yes.
the thing. But,
so I think that, and most of the 85 and olders are in nursing homes in a closed-in environment. What's interesting about that is they're dying even though the family members aren't coming in.
Right.
So, we know of a nursing home right now that there are 4 or 15.
Yeah, I was thinking there were like 5. Maybe,
5. Yeah, and it's none of the loved ones can come in and see them, but the the workers get to keep coming and going.
Right.
And so that's a very vulnerable population, and it makes sense that those people would shelter in. But I think they do anyway, a lot of times, just because of their health.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
So it's more of a natural thing. So how do you react when you think the thought? And this is my question, because when you and I think about it, we don't go into that panic phase. Our heart doesn't start racing. We don't do the deep breathing. We don't start sweating. We don't start yelling at people because they're not wearing a mask. We don't freak out. But there are people that do that.
Some people do, yeah. And I think the thing that I think of first is that true? Is it really true? And the thing is, the vast majority of times, the things that I fear really aren't true, at least not totally true. And so,
they say that.
and so and then another thing is to realize what that thought, what that fear, how it causes me to feel. It really brings me down, and I'm saying me meaning we.
Yes.
It brings us down when we think those negative thoughts. And
you want to be able to, because one of the things that you have to understand about automatic negative thoughts is your brain lies to you. Your brain lies to you a lot.
Yeah, it sure does.
And so it is going to freak out at times. It's going to say things, but your logical, rational brain can process through it. And so what we want you to get to the point where when this negative thought comes in, that you don't panic, that you're able to be peaceful and calm and think it through.
Right.
And so for us, okay, they're not wearing a mask. I can just step farther away from them. I can distance myself more. I can go the other way. I've disinfected my hands. Now, we have a disinfectant called PureWorks that you might want to look into because it lasts 5 to 8 hours.
Right.
So we wear that, and then we're not stuck worrying constantly about touching things.
Yeah.
And so you just want to be wise and not panic. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you think it through, how do I react when I think that thought? Number one, because it's very hard on your body. Being able to control the thought so you can take good action and think well. If you're freaking out, if you're panicking, it's very hard to think well.
Well, the reason is because another part of your brain takes over. We know about the amygdala, which is a part of the deep limbic system. Mm-hmm. That's where dark emotion and fears hide in there. That's what activates that in us. And so whenever that takes over from our thinking brain, the PFC, then we're kind of going down a rabbit hole.
And then, of course, we want to talk more about people. Okay, so maybe they're not worried about themselves. Maybe they're worried about their loved ones. Their loved ones are going to die.
Right, and that would be the second major ant. All my loved ones are going to die. This is terrible. They're going to die. I'm going to be alone.
Right, and so again, is that true? Think it through. Stay calm. Being able to take good decisions. Okay, so I'm going to restream it. There's no sound. I don't know why there's no sound. Great. Can you type for me? No sound? Would you type that right there for me? And then I'm going to see what I can do here about that. Okay, so I don't know what happens if I stop it and restream it again.
Yeah.
Maybe I can. Brittany, do you know what happens if I stop it and restream it? Dang. There's no sound. Because they're saying there's...
Ask them if they hear you now, because when y'all, I turned your mic off like 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Mic's fine. Okay, cool. I'm so glad I didn't stop it.
So I would ask them if they hear you now.
Can you hear us now, Ron?
Well, I can hear y'all. Just let me know.
All right, thank you. Right? I didn't do that. That's not right. Oh, what just happened? Let's see. Okay, looks like it's working out. I do not know what happened. Okay. I don't know.
Well, I don't know
That's
either.
amazing. That's amazing. I wonder how long he was here. Wait. Maybe I could call him. You want to hand me your phone real quick? Why don't you just let me pull up your... I'll pull you up Facebook. I don't have to call him. Let me see your Facebook. And that way we'll know. 30 seconds. Coming back.
What is the Del Walmsley Radio Show?
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom.
Listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show Monday through Friday from 11 until noon.
It takes a whole lot more effort to get something started in your life than it does to keep it moving.
Del Walmsley has moved thousands closer to a great life. The Del Walmsley Radio Show is now on 1160 AM KBDT, Monday through Friday from 11 until noon. Listen and move toward your great life today.
I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better, all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We were just talking about how to reprogram your mind so that you can have peace in the middle of this pandemic. We were just talking about the number one automatic negative thought right now and how to get rid of that is that I'm going to die. The number two one is my loved ones are going to die, right? Mm-hmm. And so is it true? Well, you can't know that. Can I absolutely know it's true, which is something that you said. Think it through. Mm-hmm. Again, the statistics from the CDC show that most people who become infected with the coronavirus recover from the illness. So if you practice social isolation and social distancing that they say, you reduce the risk of exposing yourself and your family to the virus. Okay, we actually want you to socially connect online and keep yourself mentally well, but also boost your immune system. So when this pandemic is over, I want you physically healthy and healthier and mentally healthier, and for your family to be healthier. They say that parents and kids are bonding 60% more than they were before, and they're closer, 60% more closer than they were.
Right.
And that's pretty amazing.
There are some negative things that come out of this, but there are going to be a lot of positive things that come out. And hopefully mental hygiene and physical hygiene, those both will be very positive things that come out of this. And I want to reemphasize, too, that we have the ability, we have the knowledge available, and we have the strength and the opportunity to keep ourselves well. We know what we can do to strengthen our immune system,
Yes.
and that there's no other power, or even medicine, that's better for us and to keep us well than a strong immune system. So that's something that the population, the general public, is going to know, hopefully, coming out of this.
Well, and if we talk about just saying something very positive when we get up, I'm going to have a great day. Today
Yes.
is going to be a great day. So we talk about the routine and doing things. So we actually do that, and then we journal, and
Yes.
then we get up and go walk or do some kind of exercise. It doesn't have to be something major, but you do need some kind of routine. And exercise is good, whether you go 5 minutes or longer. Just
Right.
having some kind of exercise that you're improving on every day.
Yeah, and I was thinking, and I heard Dr. Amen say this. He does a lot of things on the phone, and I do too. We do too, now. And so
Now he gets 10,000 steps a day.
he gets
That's what
10,000
works
steps a day,
towards.
and part of that is walking while he talks. He walks and talks. And I was thinking, that I tend to do that too, but for a different reason. But now I'm going to do it purposefully. I'm going
Right.
to walk while I'm talking to people on the phone, and that helps me get those steps in, get some exercise. Do you want to talk about the ping pong? I thought that was a pretty
ping pong.
cool idea.
So playing ping pong. The research shows one of the best mental exercises you can do.
Yes.
And it's also physically makes you well, is ping pong.
Yep.
And they actually done research on Parkinson's patients to show that they actually had them play ping pong. Please say that real fast. Play ping pong every day for 6 months, and there was a vast improvement. It was a drastic improvement. It was amazing.
Well, when you think about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's great, and you're going to say why.
No, well, I was just going to say it's a great mental exercise. It keeps because you're always having to watch where that ball's going, and so you're developing a flexibility when you do that, in your head, and so it's a great mental exercise. I never thought about that until I heard him say that.
Yeah, and so the 10,000 steps, he tries to get it every day. I try to do that. I have 8,000 set on my watch goes off at 8,000, but he does do things like if he's on the phone, he stands or he walks. So
yeah.
he doesn't. He said it's not only walking; it's also standing. Just standing improves your brain chemistry.
Oh, circulation
Versus
for one
sitting.
thing, yeah, true.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So if you can stand and do work, or stand and be on the phone, or walk around, but also we encourage going outside. And for us, vitamin D is very important, but one of the most natural vitamin Ds you can get from the sun.
Right.
Now, it's been horribly hot, and so take your vitamin D if you're not going outside. But the routine of it is important, and of course, he talks about exercise of some kind,
Right.
And so my mom likes to go up steps. Well, they're not that many steps, but she'll go up to the 3rd floor. She'll go up a few steps, get on the elevator, go up another few steps, go on the elevator, go up another. And so she just gets some exercise. She used to go out and swim, but I think it's just she doesn't feel safe enough to do that right now. And so anything like that, I do. One of our biggest fears for kids right now is not the coronavirus. For us, it's parents being afraid and terrified, and kids learning, okay, my parents they don't look like they're not afraid. If they're afraid, then I should be afraid. And so they're going to be terrified. So we're talking post-traumatic stress here. We're talking disorders. We're talking general anxiety disorder because if they don't feel safe, then they're going to be afraid from the time they're small. I mean, they may be panicking from the time that they're small. If you just have a mom looking out the curtains all the time because she's afraid, the kids know she's not calm. If she's not safe, If she doesn't feel safe, then I'm not feeling safe. If you think of a deer, and I don't know how, we have so many deer where we live, and the mom is walking, the babies are there, and the mom's real calm. But if the mom gets afraid, they get afraid immediately. If she's looking around, they just know immediately they're standing up and they're ready to go. And so, but you don't want to live in that hyper-inflated alpha state of fear. And more people, they've been living there since March 16th, March 15th. And so we need you to bring it down so that you can just think well, take good precautions, but think well, stay calm, and it would be a better role model for your children so they'll be able to focus on what they can do to help. And that's what you teach your kids, okay? In a time of stress, you don't panic, you stay calm, and you just think well.
Fear is contagious, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah, we catch it from one another, and virus aside, when we get afraid, we communicate that and teach our children and the rest of our family members to be afraid. And so as parents or leaders of a family, we have got to figure out how to help ourselves through that kind of thing.
Well, and when I was in karate and I was testing, one of the things that they taught me that when I would fight and I would lose, because I'd get really mad. And I know I've talked about this. I had a boyfriend who had broken up with me, and he had come to karate, and I was about to test, so they matched us up, and he was a black belt, and they said, they wanted me to fight him. Now they were setting me up, right? My sensei, Dr. McCall, he knew that I was mad at him, and in a lot of ways mad, so he matched us up, and I know you're laughing, and so I wanted to knock his block off. I wanted to just totally, well, guess who lost, right? Because when you're that mad, you can't think well.
Right.
And so anytime and he pulled me out and he goes, stop, you got to calm down. You got to bring the anger down. If you don't bring it down, you're going to lose. Bring it down. And so he had me do some deep breathing, and then he'd send me back in, and then sure enough, I'd get hit, and he'd pull me back out, and he'd tell me again, deep breathe. You can't use anger. You got to stay calm and then go fight. And he said that he knew I was ready when my eyes kind of went down, almost like a bull. My eyes went down, and then I took a deep breath, and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I went back in, and I won.
Way to go,
and that's
girl.
because I was breathing calmly. Yeah. I was thinking clearly. And then your brain can function. I could see, peripherally, I was able to see, my peripheral vision was better. Everything was better. And I learned, and it was such an amazing thing. And that's what he wanted to teach me. That's why he set me up,
right.
To be like, only because I'm usually not like that. So he knew that way he could see me fight mad and teach me not to do that. Because anger only makes you not think well. Same thing with fear. It makes you not think well. And that's why if you make any decisions when you're afraid like that, it's probably not going to be a good decision.
When the feeling brain is out of control, then we're not going to be in control.
Right.
That's just the way it is. And so you've got to transfer that energy from the feeling brain to the thinking brain, and that's exactly what happened with you, and that enabled you to win.
Well, and I know another aunt. I'm going to skip one of these because
I
know I'm stuck at home and I don't like my family.
Yeah.
Now, that's
okay.
an aunt. That's an automatic negative thought, which your brain lies to you. But it is hard to be with someone closed in a box 24/7. Oh, now Dr. Raymond's saying, you need to really think this through before you marry somebody. You have got to now think about that in a pandemic, or if I can't leave my home and I'm only with this person all the time, can I do it?
Can I make it?
Can I make it? Because
Yeah.
that's who's going to be in your house with you, right? And so, if you need them in small quantities, then you probably... Anyway, I thought that was quite funny.
That was funny, yeah.
But what do you think about that? Because kids can, and I've had even adults say that they're fighting more than they've ever fought before.
Well, and I have a lot of guys who come to see me for different things, and during the COVID thing here, they're working at home, their wives are working at home, their 6-year-old son is just running everywhere,
Yes.
and they're having to try and help him with his school, and he doesn't want to do that, and all that kind of thing. And so people are having to become very, very creative, and they're having to work through those issues that normally they don't have to work through. And so it's become a huge thing, and most of the people are able to say, I love my kids, I love my wife, but they really tend to get on my nerves sometimes. So what do I do? And so it is a very real problem.
So what you do with that is we want you to write it down, journal it, think it through, see if it's true, because it's probably not true that you don't like them. But I think maybe you don't like something about their behavior right then. That's a behavior you don't like. And then how can you handle it better? So what do you suggest for that? Because we have that with a lot of people right now.
Well, I would suggest, changing the routine a little bit. I would suggest getting the family outside, outdoors, when you can. You can explore new things to do as a family when you have the off time. You can play games. You can play board games. You can make puzzles. You can do all kinds of things.
Right.
What you don't want to do is to get locked into media of some kind, and everybody's separated, and they have their iPad or they have their phone, and they're playing their video games and stuff like that, right?
But you can for a while. Okay, so some of the things that people are writing, I've had problems with family members in the past, and there are things I don't like about them, but we aren't destined to always have these problems, and we're not always going to have a pandemic. But I have this one. I started laughing while you were talking just because of this one. How do I react when I think that thought? This one person put trapped, victimized, like I'm in the zombie apocalypse, and my family are all zombies trying to eat my brain. It makes me want to hide in my room, which makes me feel even more isolated. So what do you think about that?
Well, I tell you, there have probably been times when most people felt kind of like that. I don't know. But, first of all, your family really is not the enemy. They generally are not the enemy. They're trapped. They're probably feeling trapped just like you are. And so, working together to find a way out of that's a really important thing. And I have guys who are taking their families out to do different things that they can do. Maybe you can't do everything that you used to be able to do, but you can go outside and you can do some things. You can do creative things inside. And, something that's important to do, I think, also that we talk about a lot is simply to talk about that and say, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I'm going kind of nuts here. And so we'd just like to talk about that. What are you feeling? And that kind of
coming
thing.
up with ideas together, brainstorming for ideas. Because what I want you to think about how would I feel without that thought? Mm-hmm. If I could think other things and change it around, because it's not a true thought. And so by journaling it out, what's the truth and seeing the truth? By getting rid of that thought, how do you feel without that thought? Massively relieved. You feel very relieved and freer. And we want you to feel free, not trapped in. Because some of the practices that people had before the pandemic were not real healthy.
Right.
But they stayed so busy and they didn't see it so clearly. And I think right now, when you're put in a box, and these are the habits that you have, you can see either they'll work or they won't. And so a lot of people need a lot more habits. They need a lot more healthier coping skills for life. Right. And just being on technology is not a good answer to always do that.
It really just isolates more, to be honest about it.
And so one of the things, I know we're going to talk about these, but we also, in order to handle these well, how you eat is very important as well.
Yep.
So number one, what I have clients do these last 5 months is get rid of sugar. Because they're eating so much sugar, and it's causing anxiety, it's causing anger, it's causing, irritability. So I find that I start with sugar. If you get rid of sugar, and I had somebody the other day go, I don't really eat sugar. And we got to what they drink, they said sweet tea all day long. Right. Okay, that was sugar. You just said you have sugar all day long. They cut out the sweet tea, anger gone, irritability gone. So we start with sugar. And then if there's still some left, I have them cut out breads or gluten. Boom, gone. They're fine. So part of it is right now, if you're out there and you're eating mostly sugar and carbs, or let me just say it another way, sugar and bread, or sugars and salts like chips and stuff like that, I need you to bring that down and let that go for this time so you can get healthier. So this week, I would just start with sugar. So if you do that for me, you will get better. So when you come back, we'll close out with some new ways to get rid of ants.
Yeah.
Stay right here.
That was good. I'm glad you brought that out. That's really important.
I know. Well, and I'm sitting here. The one, my kids are driving me crazy.
Well, so what do you want to do then for the end here? Do you want to go through another one of those things, or two or three, or do you want to talk about like not watching the news and connect? We talked about connecting socially, appreciating someone today. Laughter. We didn't have mentioned laughter yet.
No, we did. We mentioned laughter.
We did?
Oh,
Okay.
well, we could talk about that research they did with the guy that did 500 hours
Yeah.
of comedy.
Yeah.
But what about the one that I'm all alone and no one cares about me? That's an ant.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Maybe we could do that one
Mm-hmm.
before we close and then talk about the comedy. We could end with that, you know.
Yeah, we could.
Because,
Let me find that on here. Yeah, there it is. He had that number 10. So.
I think that when people think that, they tend to not reach out, you know, and I think that's that thought, if you react to that thought, you become more and more isolated because you believe it and you don't act out. Instead of fighting that thought, confronting it,
Right.
attacking it. And
Well, and you know, he brings up the fact that it really is almost certainly not true altogether,
certainly not true.
because our family, you know, needs us, wants us. Our colleagues even need us and want us. We're just all in kind of a bad situation here. And then our extended family, circle of friends, you know, there are definitely people who want us and need us. And to experience that, again, it's overcoming the sense of social isolation and connecting socially, you know. So I think that could be important to do. And the appreciation thing would be a part of that too, I guess, you know.
Oh, appreciations, yeah.
Yeah, and so you could call someone just to talk for a couple minutes, or just to say, I was thinking about you today, just want you to know how much I appreciate you, and which is kind of what
Well, and
we talk
when
about.
When you think about you are what you think, or, you know, however you put that. But if you believe you're alone and no one cares about you, then you act on that. You don't reach out.
Yeah,
If you believe people care about you, then you reach out.
Right. The other way, you're just going to hide out, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the more you think it, the more you believe it, and the worse you feel. And so,
Whereas the other way around.
Yeah,
the
it's
more
just
you
the other
reach
way
out,
around.
The more you, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. 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 Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Especially our super favorite fan, Mr. Ron Neitzel, the Green Wizard.
The Green Wizard.
Yes.
I just like to have everybody just think about picking up one of Ron's books. I mean, he has an excellent, it's like a handbook for lawn and garden care, and
Yes.
it is the greatest thing. I mean, it has helped us so much. So, Ron, just a quick shout out to you. I hope that's okay with our primary host here, Ann, and everything. I think it will be. But the Green Wizard's Guide, you know, or Green Wizard Guide. And so we really appreciate you, Ron, and encourage everybody to get a copy of your book and follow it and have great lawns and gardens.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now, back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We just want to encourage you, if you're struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, or other mental health issues, you aren't alone. 45% of Americans right now say the coronavirus has impacted their mental health. And just because you're sheltering at home or anything like that doesn't mean you have to wait for this to be over before seeking help. And at Life Solutions Coaching and Counseling, our practice, we are there and we can help you with your mental well-being. It's very important to us that you get well, so you can reach out to us. And we have people who can help you. You can call a specialist today. You can see Dr. Jim Slaughter or me, Ann Beal. Just call and schedule an appointment. Our number at the clinic, 817-232-1363, and someone will get back to you. Just want to let you know that. If our specialists are busy, we will get back to you within the day. At the end of the message, it has my business cell phone. You can always come right to that and get to us immediately if you need to. We were just talking about the importance of
Connecting.
Connecting.
Because so many people are saying no one cares about me anymore, and I feel so alone.
Now, that is an ant.
That is an ant, right? Exactly.
And I think that's a very important one, because I think in this time people have isolated, and everyone's isolating, and everyone is not very good at reaching out. I mean, the technology age has made people, which we thought would bring us closer, has kind of brought us farther apart. And so if that's all we have, it's been kind of a quiet time for some people. I've had kids and their friends from school all summer long. They didn't talk to them at all. They didn't, not by text, nothing. And they didn't communicate with them more. And I couldn't even believe that, because there was a time in the past they would have, but now they just play their games or whatever. And I think that it's important to reach out. Now, if you think I'm alone, no one cares for me, I'm all alone, and that automatic negative thought, if you don't know to fight that your brain lies to you, and so you don't fight it, and you just believe that, if you act on that thought, what you do is you isolate more and you do not reach out.
Right.
And then as you do that, you isolate even more, and then you never reach out.
And you feel worse.
And you feel
the
worse,
whole
and you
time.
feel worse. And it is a
Right.
downward slide. So understand that it's just how you're thinking. If you change your thinking and you say, wait, do I know that's true? There are people out there, extended family or friends or church people or
Colleagues.
what are colleagues,
Yeah, absolutely.
that actually do care. I'm sure they care, so you reach out.
And it's not just care; they need you
They need
the way
you.
you need others as well. You
And
know,
people,
so that's
I
true.
haven't had anyone go, oh my gosh, I have so many people bothering me and reaching out. I never get time alone. In fact, we've not heard that even a little bit. We've heard the total opposite of that.
Right.
That people are lonely. People haven't heard from people. So
Yeah.
do the opposite, reach out. Reach out, however you can do it, reach out. And then when you get rid of that thought and you're able to think a different thought, and again, it's just your thoughts change your brain chemistry. So just by choosing to think something different, believe it, it changes your brain chemistry. So instead of thinking, I'm alone and no one cares about me, you go, wait, that's not true. People care about me. And when you think that thought, you reach out. You do. You reach out. You stop isolating so much and you reach out. And when you reach out, then people reach back, and then it kind of goes from there. And you just keep reaching out, and you get happier and happier. Now,
Right. Well, yeah, and reaching out is it's a healthy behavior, right?
Yes,
It's a healing behavior. And so we talked about appreciation as being a part of that reaching out.
Yes.
If you want to make somebody's day, give them a quick call and say, hey, I was thinking about you. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. And you don't have to say much more than that, and you have made their day.
yeah, and our granddaughter, well, who was it who got a card? Oh, no, yeah, granddaughter. She got a card from Libby the other
Yes,
day.
yes.
And just getting a card in the mail. I mean, it was a letter. Like, it was a letter. And she had designs and painted the envelope. And to see Ella's face, all of them were like, look at that. And Cassie was like, look at this envelope. Oh, my gosh. I mean, just that
Right.
simple act was amazing how it did people. And I love mailing people stuff, and then they call me and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you mailed me something. What? Now I have to mail you something back? And it's a way to get them to contact you. So I love that. You just mail. And if you really want to get them to talk, put glitter in there. And then when they open it, glitter goes everywhere and makes them laugh. So let's talk about laughter. We want to encourage you with the latest research about laughter. They had a guy who had cancer. He took 500 hours and just watched comedy like Laurel and Hardy and all these comedy shows, and he got so much better. He had chronic pain.
It was chronic pain, yeah. And so that decreased by a half
Yes.
after that time period.
And then he went on to get better until it went away.
Yeah.
It is an amazing story, amazing research, and what laughter can do for you. So one of the best things we suggest right now to get better this week, turn off the news, turn off anything that frustrates you, irritates you, anything like that, and turn on comedy and laugh.
Yep. Pull out those old comedy shows and just enjoy them together.
Pull out those comedy shows, laugh, have some fun, laugh at yourself, do goofy things, and have a great week. We look forward to seeing you next week right here with Getting Better. Take care.